In today's video lesson, we're going to look at the hierarchical organization in living organisms. And what does that mean? That means how are living things organized from simple to complex. So we know that atoms are the basic building block of all matter. And if we look at biological organizations, what we see is the simple level of hierarchical organization is the cellular level. Cells are the basic functional unit of life. We can see here samples of the diversity of different cells, and that diversity in structure reflects diversity in function. So we have the nerve cells on the left with the long processes that enable them to deliver electrical signals. We have the egg cell that is structured to carry out its process of nourishing and developing the embryo and fetus. And we have that rigid plant cell structure that gives stability to the plant. When we have a collection of cells performing similar functions, then we refer to that as a tissue. So in our human body, we have four main tissue types. We have muscle tissue, and that's composed of long cell bundles that contain special proteins called actin and myosin that work together to allow contraction. This muscle tissue is necessary for our movement, and we have three types of muscle tissue. We have heart muscle, in which the cells are coordinated for rhythmic beating. We have skeletal muscle that allows your arms and legs to move and allows you to have locomotion. And we have smooth muscle, and that's the muscle tissue that lines internal organs like your stomach and your uterus that allows for contractions in those organs. We also have connective tissue. This would be things like your bones and tendons, your blood, your cartilage, your fat stores. This is tissue that we use for insulation and for support in the body. The third tissue is epithelial. If you think about the epithelial tissue, you want to think about your skin, and that's cells that are tightly packed in thin sheets. They cover the surfaces of the body. They also line our internal organs as well. We use epithelial tissue for protection. It also prevents water loss, prevents dehydration. And then the final type of tissue in the human body is the nerve tissue. These are long cells with branching extensions of the cell. They're designed to conduct electrical impulses. They coordinate our bodily functions, our sensory functions, and this tissue be found in your brain, your spinal cord, and your nerves. And this diagram is going to show you the different cellular arrangements in these four tissue types. So you have your connective tissue, your bone, your cartilage. You have your epithelial tissue, those tightly packed cells that we find lining our organs and protecting us with our skin. And then you have that very organized tissue that is the muscle tissue. Again, those cells are working with proteins, actin and myosin to allow contraction. And then you have our nervous tissue with those long cellular processes that are neurons working together to deliver electrical impulses. Plants have tissues as well, and there are three types of plant tissues. There's the dermal tissue that covers the outer surface of the plant. This would be analogous to our epithelial tissue in humans. Dermal tissue is important for waterproofing, for preventing water loss, for protection of the plant. We have vascular tissue in plants that are conducting tissues. They carry water and dissolved sugars through the plant. The specialized vascular tissue called xylem transports the water, and xylem is just hollow tubes through the plant. They're not actually living tissue. They're formed from cells that have died. And then the phloem tissue transports the dissolved sugars, the products of photosynthesis. Those are living tissue structures, and they're important for carrying nutrients throughout the plant. And if it isn't dermal tissue or vascular tissue, then we call it ground tissue. And that tissue is providing storage functions, it's giving the plant support, and the cells in the ground tissue carry chloroplasts, so they're important for photosynthesis. So if we take a look at this cross section, we have that dermal tissue on the outer regions. Again, this is protection. Leaves will secrete a waxy substance called cutin on the top of the dermal tissue, and that prevents water loss and dehydration. In the middle sections, you have your ground tissue. These cells would have chloroplasts. They would carry out photosynthesis. You see the spaces in this layer. That's for gas exchange and the gas movement, especially through the leaf. And then you have that tube structure. That's your vascular tissue. Again, transport of the water and the dissolved sugars through the plant. So we have cells, the functional unit of life. They are organized into tissues, and different tissues working together to perform complex functions are our organs. And again, you have your animal organs and your plant organs. So you can see here the stomach and the various tissues that compose the stomach. You have smooth muscle tissue that allows the stomach to contract. You have loose connective tissue that gives support. You have nervous tissue that signals the stomach and aids in digestion, gives us signals that we're hungry. We have epithelial tissue that's lining that stomach for support and protection as well. And then around that stomach, you're going to have a lot of blood vessels. You want to, the digestive system is rich in blood vessels to carry nutrients that are the products of digestion to all the other cells of your body. Plants also have organs. You have the leaf, photosynthetic organ. You've got flowers that are important for reproductive processes in the plant. You have the stem that's for support and also for transporting substances like water and dissolved sugars through the plant. And you have the roots that anchor the plant and provide support. They're also absorbing water and absorbing minerals. And then if we have several organs working together to perform vital functions, what we have are organ systems. And in the animal system, you see the digestive system. We'll be talking about this system in more detail. It's actually one of 11 systems in the body. Generally, textbooks will list systems of 11 or 12 systems, depending on how they're naming them. And the digestive system is one. You can see the various organs working together, the stomach, the liver, the gallbladder, the intestines, the esophagus, all of those organs working together to carry out food digestion or release of nutrients. Plants also have systems as well, organ systems as well, and we generally organize them into two regions. We have the shoot system. That tends to be your leaf, your stem, and your flower. The parts of the plant that are above the ground. And those parts are important for photosynthesis and for reproductive processes for the plant. Under the ground, you have the root system. The root, again, is the anchor. It absorbs water and minerals. It stores the food. So the organ systems in plants are arranged in the above ground organs and the below ground organs. And so finally, when we organize all those organ systems together and they're working together and they're interconnected, that ensures the survival of the whole organism. So the hierarchy goes from cells to tissues to organ systems to finally the organism. And what's important to understand is that the functioning of that whole organism depends on the hierarchy of organization within that body. And those organ systems are very interconnected. They don't act alone. They really work in partnership with the other systems to ensure that the whole organism is getting the nutrients it requires to function. And that's the hierarchy of living things and biological organization. And I hope that's helpful.